Imagine a black teenage girl politely settling into her first-class seat, only to be stared down, judged, and thrown out in front of an entire plane of strangers. But 5 minutes later, the doors opened again, and her mother, draped in a designer suit, flanked by security, walked in. The CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And everything changed. If this story grips you, stirs your soul, or makes you rethink power and prejudice, don't scroll away. Subscribe now for more gripping stories that demand to be heard. The Beogunji, the airport buzzed with that particular rhythm, anxious parents tugging toddlers, suited businessfolk clutching tablets, tourists with backpacks too big for overhead bins, and among them, 15-year-old Amira Caldwell stood alone at gate A18, her curls wrapped in a navy head wrap, a book clutched in her hand, and a first-class boarding pass shaking slightly in her grip. She glanced at her phone, reading the text from her mother. Emergency at the office. I'll board later. Just go ahead to your seat. I'll join you before takeoff. Love you, baby. Her heart thudded a little harder. She wasn't nervous about flying. She'd flown dozens of times. But flying first class alone felt different. Her mom, Evelyn Caldwell, the media-shy yet powerhouse CEO of Caldwell Innovations, the tech company that powered half the world's AI-assisted home security systems, was always right next to her on flights, shielding her from the side eyes and the whispered judgments they both had grown far too familiar with. Amira inhaled and stepped forward when they called first-class boarding, ignoring the curious glances of those around her. The moment she stepped into the plane's plush front cabin, everything about her presence seemed to trigger discomfort. A white flight attendant with a pinched smile did a double take at her boarding pass, then said, "Sweetie, this is for first class. Economy is that way," pointing back toward the tail of the plane without even properly checking. "I know, this is my seat," Amira said, voice steady but quiet. The attendant pursed her lips and waved a nearby male attendant over. Soon, a mild commotion began. The couple in the neighboring seats leaned away. A man in a suit muttered under his breath, "What's she doing here?" Another passenger laughed and said, "Probably a TikToker filming a prank." Amira sat down anyway, headphones in, book open, but the attendants wouldn't let it go. They asked again to see her ticket, then accused her of tampering with someone else's boarding pass. "Ma'am, this isn't yours," the male attendant insisted. "It is," Amira said again, this time louder, but it didn't matter. Minutes later, security was called. Other passengers watched with smug faces or averted eyes. No one intervened. "We'll sort this out at the gate," the male attendant said as Amira was escorted off the plane. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to cry. Not in front of them. Not like this. "This is a mistake," she said again, more to herself now, standing by the gate agent, arms crossed tight. But the humiliation had already soaked into her bones. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then a murmur rippled through the terminal as the automatic boarding doors reopened and Evelyn Caldwell stepped inside, heels clicking sharply, her designer briefcase slung over one shoulder, sunglasses sliding down. Her nose just enough to reveal the blaze in her. The mother Azarivi's Evelyn's presence was electric, the kind of energy that made people sit up straighter without knowing why. The kind of woman who didn't demand respect, she commanded it. Her tailored white coat, gold accented, caught the light as she moved swiftly, purposefully toward her daughter, not even glancing at the gawking passengers who'd begun whispering. The two security agents she always traveled with flanked her, discreetly, one carrying her tablet and the other on a call. "Amira," she said, her voice smooth but edged with fury. "What happened?" Amira didn't need to answer. The flight attendant from earlier, now sweating under Evelyn's gaze, stepped forward. We thought, ma'am, your daughter tried to board using a first-class pass, and there was confusion." "Tried?" Evelyn echoed, raising one manicured brow. "You mean she did?" With the ticket I purchased under my platinum account. Show me who made the call to remove her. A trembling hand gestured toward the male attendant, now half hiding behind a flight crew clipboard. Evelyn didn't yell. She didn't need to. She asked to see the gate supervisor, then the airline's customer liaison. Her voice was calm, deliberate, slicing through their excuses like a scalpel. I want the name of every person who watched my daughter be publicly humiliated and said nothing. And I want that manifest right now. Someone tried to appease her with a "Ma'am, please calm down," and Evelyn whirled. Do not tell a black woman to calm down when she's defending her daughter. You should be thankful I'm not going. Live on Instagram right now. Amira stayed silent beside her, cheeks burning, but a small flicker of pride pushed through the fog of shame. That was her mom. Always poised, always powerful. The whispers had now grown to full-on murmurs. Passengers Googled Evelyn Caldwell's name, and gasps began to ripple. Wait, that's her. That's the woman who... One older man muttered, "She's worth over 600 million, isn't she?" Another younger girl whispered, "She was." Just on Forbes, "That's her daughter?" The tone changed. Instantly, and Evelyn saw it. Now you want to smile? Now you want to offer us champagne and pillows? Save it, she snapped at the trembling attendant. We're taking a private jet instead. Keep your apology. I'll be sending my legal team. Then she turned to her daughter, wrapped an arm around her shoulder, and whispered, "You deserve better. And they're about to learn what happens when they treat you like less." And just like that, Evelyn led Amira out past the flight crew, past the onlookers, past the apologies that now poured like syrup. 5 minutes ago, they saw a black girl as a threat. Now they saw her as the daughter of power. But Evelyn would make sure they learned to treat every black girl like she mattered, not just the ones with a fortune. 500 last name. Viral TRU. By the time Evelyn and Amira were wheels up in their private charter, the story was already spreading. A fellow passenger shocked into silence earlier had caught the whole confrontation on video and posted it with the caption, "They kicked this black girl out of first class." 5 minutes later, her CEO mom showed up and shut the whole plane down. Iconic. Within hours, hashtag #Amira Caldwell trended on Twitter. Celebrities retweeted it. Civil rights lawyers commented. News anchors debated. Some called it justice served. Others asked, what if her mom wasn't a CEO? Evelyn didn't flinch. She knew the truth. And she knew the spotlight was an opportunity. "We're not hiding from this," she told her team that afternoon. "We're pushing it forward." Press release, interview, and Amira speaks too. At first, Amira was terrified. Public speaking? No way. But Evelyn knelt in front of her, eyes soft. "Baby, there's 1,000 little girls watching now. Girls who've been humiliated, questioned, and made to feel small. You have a voice. Use it." And Amira did. With shaky breath and full heart, she took the mic on a major morning show 3 days later. "I wasn't angry," she said softly. "I was used to it. That's what hurts most. I thought I'd have to just sit there and take it. But when my mom came, I realized I don't have to let it happen anymore. None of us do." The segment went viral. Within 24 hours, the airline issued a groveling apology. The flight crew was suspended. And Evelyn announced the launch of Elevate Her, a non-profit dedicated to training airline staff in anti-bias practices and funding travel scholarships for young girls of color. Donations poured in. The movement had months passed. Elevate Her expanded rapidly. Amira toured schools, telling her story. She became the youngest speaker ever at the Women of Color in Leadership Summit. One of the passengers from that fateful flight reached out a teacher who'd kept silent during the incident. "I'm ashamed," she wrote, "but I want to do better. Please let me help." And she did. She started chapters in her own district. Others followed. Meanwhile, the airline introduced mandatory empathy training, using Amira's story as the cornerstone. But none of it erased that first moment, that quiet, brutal dismissal at the hands of strangers. It stayed with Amira. It shaped her. Not with bitterness, but with fire. On the 1-year anniversary, Amira and Evelyn hosted a live event. The screen behind them showed a photo of Amira in her first-class seat, head held high. "They tried to remove me from the front of the plane," she said. "But now I'm helping others reach heights even higher." Thunderous applause erupted. Evelyn stepped forward, voice proud. "You messed with the wrong girl, and the right mother." And the world learned something that day. Never judge a girl by her boarding pass, or you just might get left on the runway while she takes off.